wrapped up in my sleeping bag, looking out the window at Erin's house as the sun is beginning to creep over the horizon. And the trees are silhouetted black against the emerging blue sky with the fading stars up in the sky. And I think to myself how much I hate Erin because he's got it fucking made with this fantastic house of his, this nice little piece of property tucked away out in the backwoods of South Dakota. God, I fucking hate him. I hope he dies. I hope he dies of syphilis. You piece of shit.
All is not well. All is not well in the world. From Time Magazine, which was the We're Smarter Than You publication for decades. Oh, Time Magazine. Oh, Time. That's the thoughtful boomer piece. It's it's just boomer leftist propaganda. Hey, why don't we watch some 60 Minutes while we're at it? Why so many women are quitting the workforce. What? Why? Wait, you have your utopia, ladies. It's perfect now. It's a stark number, 212,000. That's how many women ages 20 and over have left the workforce since January, according to the most recent jobs number released August 1st by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. By contract, 44,000 men have entered the workforce since January. Why? Now, come on now, ladies. Girlboss! Why are you leaving? Actually, there's some really good reasons they are, and I will defend women on this. But then we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Oh, they took away your Barbie doll house? You've got to build your own, huh? All right. The numbers show a reversal of recent trends that saw more women, especially women with children, finding and keeping full-time jobs. Data shows that between January and June, the labor force participation rate of women ages 25 to 44 living with a child under 5 fell nearly 3 percentage points. With children under 5, I wonder why that was. Fell nearly 3 percentage points from 69.7 to 69.9. And that actually is a lot in a short period of time. That is a very significant drop for those of you not familiar with economics. Says Misty Lee Hagenis, an associate professor of economics and public affairs at the University of Kansas, and she is a rabid leftist, of course. It's a big reversal. The participation of those women had soared in 2022, 2023, and 2024, peaking in January 2025. As flexible workplace policies helped women join the workforce and generated much needed income for the families. That's good, right? Remote work is good, right? All you corpos saying, oh, work-life balance, we really care about women. Okay. And I know people where this happened. One gal has kids. They need the extra money because they have kids. She could work remotely at home. Oh my God, were people making progress? Well, we better put an end to that shit. So this actually was good for women and families in general. Workers have seen flexibility revoked in 2025 on a large scale. President Donald Trump ordered federal employees back to the office 5 days a week in January, though many had negotiated remote work arrangements, and some had even moved far away from their offices. Amazon, JP, and AT&T also returned to 5 days a week policies in 2025. Overall full-time in-office requirements among Fortune 500 companies jumped to 24% in the second quarter of 2025, up from 13% at the end of 2024, according to the Flex Index, which tracks remote work policies. This has hit women with bachelor's degrees in particular. The labor force participation rate, which has been falling for decades before the pandemic. Decades? Now, wait a minute. Now, I saw this data a while ago, and this is kind of interesting. So you may not know it, but women's labor force participation rate kind of peaked about 20 years ago. There was the big rah, 60s feminist women into the workforce, 70s, 80s, 90s, and the aughts. And I believe it was in the late aughts, probably timed, if I had to look up the data again, probably timed with the housing bubble. And then it's been on a general decline ever since. And one thing I always loved is how we need a career and we're going to go and be girl boss. We're going to make the money and we don't need no man. And I'm like, yeah, but then when it comes to you actually doing the labor force participation, a shockingly few of you are in there and it's going down. Like you got to give the 60s and 70s and 80s women, not just women, credit. They entered the workforce and they worked. But now it's kind of what happened? What's going on? And this is before they started cracking down on remote work. You know what? Let me just pull it up right now. Oh, by the way, women have never worked as much as men. None of you have not come close. All right, this is yeah. So beforehand, 1948, it was about a third, 33%. It reached a peak. Oh, 2000. Wow, look at that. It reached a peak at 60.3 and has been going generally very slightly down ever since. And women have recovered more than men after the disease. And men are pretty much at an all-time consistent low. Right now, 57.4% of able-bodied women are in the labor force. Oh, there you go. Why is it slowing down? Why are you? Because, right, the most important thing in your life was your career. Why is it that 70% then? You would have thought it would have exited. Men are like, fuck work, we're out. Women were like, work, oh my God, I love paying taxes. But when the rubber hits the road, I don't care all the propaganda and the talky talk and the blustery and the bluffing and the braggadocio. It didn't translate in past 25 years. It hasn't translated in more you girls working. Started ticking up again in 2020, peaking at 70.3. Now, this is women with bachelor's degrees. In September 2024 has been falling ever since and stood at 67.7 in July of 2025, according to the most recent job reports. It's not a coincidence that women's participation in the workforce is falling as flexibility disappears. Correct, as is men's, I'm sure. Says Julie Voigtman, Senior Director of Job Quality for the National Women's Law Center. Women capitalized on remote work and flexibility during the pandemic and stopped exiting the labor force. Research shows now many are not able to do so. Hang on. Women still take on. Now here's where the propaganda comes in. Here's where, and you would have had me, right? You would have had me like, yeah, remote work is good. It's good for families, good for women, it's good for men. This is a genuinely bad thing happening, right? Women should have that flexibility. We wish you the best. And now comes the part of our show, because it's Time Magazine, and you just have to, you can't help yourself, where we have to have women as the victims. Right? Guys are on your side. Yeah, you shouldn't have to work. Yeah, commuting's bad. It's bad. Yeah, take care of your kids. It's good. Yes, we wish you all the best. And women do more of the chores. How the fuck did chores get into this now? Women still take on the lion's share of caregiving responsibilities. No, they don't. Like mowing the yard and fixing the car, chopping wood, right? Yeah, that's in there, right? Right? They're more likely than men to be navigating how to meet those caregiving responsibilities while holding down a job, she says. They're also more likely than men to feel that they have to leave the workforce when their balancing act becomes unmanageable. Return to office policies are not proven to make companies more productive. One 2024 study of resumes at Microsoft and SpaceX and Apple found that return to office policies led to an exodus of senior employees, which posed a potential threat to competitiveness of the larger firm. Nearly 2/3 of C-suite executives said that return to work mandates cause a disproportionate number of females to quit, according to the 2024 survey conducted by Waller, a data collection agency on behalf of Upwork and Workplace Intelligence. No matter what they say, I know girls, which again is curious with their lack of labor force participation. No matter what they say, I think women still want to spend time with their kids. They won't admit it, but they do want to spend time with their kids. And if you take that, I mean, not all, some would prefer, obviously, many choose their work over their kids, obviously. But some, if you could believe it, Some are not all there sucking the mighty corporate cock and going after the bag. Some women might want to say, well, you can't, or you have to come into the office. Otherwise, you can't work here anymore. And they'll be like, yeah, I'm not doing it. Not just solely for the kids. Maybe they don't want to commute. Maybe it's a pain in the ass to commute. There, and that goes equally for men as well. There is a permanent part of the labor force that will simply never commute again. Not part, it's a deal breaker. It should have been a deal breaker 25 years ago. But yes, I could see women disproportionately quitting because they maybe want to raise their kids. Of course. I was going to do that. Many of those CEOs who reported women quitting said they were struggling to fill jobs because of the loss of female employees and their overall workforce productivity is down. Your workforce productivity is down when you told people they couldn't remote work anymore. When I hear about these companies making everyone go back to the office, the most normal situation is it's being offered by some old white male person with what I call care privilege. This is the Professor Hageness, of course. If I look her up, hang on, should we? Let's look her up. I guarantee this is a not wood. A would not. I'll just maybe Professor Hageness. Oop, come on, Aaron. Professor Hageness. What's her name? Hageness. I spelled Hageness. Hageness. Is it 2 G's or 1 G? Why can't we just have normal names? Okay, 2 G's. Misty Hageness. Is this public affairs? Kansas. Yeah, this is the gal. I'm trying to be. Oh no. That picture was Photoshop. No. Oh no. Look, Misty. Look, we can see what you really look like with all your other pictures. You don't have to have your professional one Photoshop. Just be proud. Would not. Absolutely would not. Let's continue on. Yes, it's a white male doing the thing, sweetheart. Yep, it always is. And now you understand now why I don't believe the economic research, right? Why I don't a study shows. I don't believe you anymore. The disappearance of flexibility is not the only reason women are leaving the workforce in 2025. Here we go. Are you ready, kids? Some of the decline in participation comes from lower income women in jobs that have historically had to be done in person full time, even during the pandemic. Those women are struggling because federal dollars for childcare have declined significantly in 2025. Oh, so one, the taxpayers had to subsidize your jobs, right? There was no demand. We had to go and get other people to pay for these make work jobs. And if it's in childcare, that means you girls on the other end, right? We got to go and because you can't afford it. You can't afford childcare. So now we go tax the taxpayer to pay for childcare. So one, the job was created out of thin air, paid for by taxpayers' welfare jobs program, so that you could go work another job because you prefer to have a job than raise your kid. And don't fucking tell me you need 2 careers. You need 2 incomes. No, you don't. You just spend less. I've seen that in everybody's personal financial statements. You all got way nicer car. And I know, don't tell me you have college degrees and cars. You love those 2 things more than you do your kids. If you didn't have those, like a car payment, I mean, not a car, you could take care of your kids, but you don't. And so now, so you could go play make believe, whatever HR professor made up bullshit career girl boss. We got to go and tax the taxpayers to create another job of daycare provider. And that's where That was what I pulled from this article here. That was the takeaway. How many of your careers are make work bullshit? That's what I want to know. How much are we as a country paying in taxes or tolerating or nonprofits and charity to create these jobs? What percent of female careers are worthwhile? Now, are there engineers and doctors and surgeons and whatever, accountants and all that, real contributing women of society? Yes, of course, but I want to know what the percentage is. Now, I already have. If you go get my book, A World Without Men, I break down like what percent of the economy is critical and what percent is staffed by men versus women. The results will not surprise you. But leave it up to time in the media to be like, oh my God, women aren't in the workforce anymore. They're dropping out. It's horrible. Well, they shouldn't have been there in the first place. Not with these jobs. Like, how you want to talk about privilege, lady? How privileged? There has never been a more privileged group of people than women in North America or the United States. One would say white women in North America. Let's remove that. You have the government creating entire industries to employ you, quotas, political motivated laws, and will even tax the taxpayer to raise the children you don't want to raise. So you can LARP as essentially some kind of career person. Again, not slamming on you girls with real jobs. Absolutely not. I'm talking, I'd have to look up the data. I'm going to estimate around 40 to 50% of the horseshit bullshit jobs. And you're oppressed and you're complaining? I mean, why if all jobs are equal, why don't we have the federal government just create bullshit jobs for everyone? We could boost our GDP to $250,000 per head. What do? Oh, I'm the styrofoam block destroyer. Let's just go make a bunch of styrofoam blocks, and then we got to look at the kind. Oh, Paul Krugman's creaming his shorts right now. Think of all the multiplier effect. Well, if we had styrofoam block destroyers, we'd have to go have more styrofoam. Imagine all the people employed by the styrofoam industry, and then all the people with the sledgehammer industry, and then me. I get my sledgehammer. I get to destroy styrofoam blocks. Oh, and then I got to pay someone to raise my kids because I'm too busy destroying styrofoam blocks. And then I could get a child tax credit to pay for the child care. That money helped many centers stay open and charge lower tuition than they otherwise would have. The funding ended in September of 2024, forcing many centers to raise tuition or close, leaving some families without options except maybe to cut your budget. Or here's another one. Why don't you sacrifice sleep and work a late night job? How about you pay for all your shit? What's more, the mass deportations occurring throughout the country are now affecting child care providers, about 20% of whom are immigrants, according to Voigtman. Even if workers have legal status, some may be afraid to come to work. No, that's a lie. That's a lie. If you have legal status, you show them and then you're fine. That's a lie. And others may have lost their own child care and have to stay home as a result. Wait a minute. Hold it. Wait a minute. Hang on. Don't tell me we did the circle of why bother in 2 steps. About 20% of whom are immigrants, according to Voigtman. Even if workers have legal status, some may be afraid to come to work, and others may have lost their own child care and have to stay home as a result, she says. Are you saying the child care workers lost their child care and now they got to go home and take care of their children? Is that what you just said, Voigtman? Is that what you just said? I'm serious. Do you understand why a lot of people in the country, women included, are having a hard time taking you girl bosses seriously? If you don't want to raise your kids, you don't have to have kids. If you want to raise other women's kids, go ahead and raise other women's kids. But don't get to the situation where you have kids and you have to abandon them and pay someone else to raise your kids while you're raising other people's kids. I don't know how dumb you are. That is some dumb fucking shit. That I never thought it would get to that level of redundancy, but apparently we have. And I'm supposed to take you all seriously about how serious you are about careers and work and being a girl boss. I would not doubt it if they redact this sometime in the future. That is such a stupid thing. That's not a poorly written sentence. I'm not criticizing the author, but that's such a stupid sentence that was here. You've all lost your fucking minds. The federal funding helps some providers keep their costs down. Now that childcare expenses are rising again. Oh, to the full cost, so that like I'm not subsidizing somebody else's crotch fruit. You mean, oh, the parents have to pay for their own children? Oh my God, heavens no. The amount of money American families spend on nursing, elementary, and secondary schools fell in much of 2023 and 2024, and then started to rise again in the fourth quarter of 2024 when it jumped 3.3%, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis. It has risen every quarter in 2025. You have a population of working women who are finding it increasingly difficult to make the math work. Well, you should have majored in engineering or not had the kids. You are enslaving other people to raise your children. Don't say, but you just don't want me to have children. You're a horrible human being. No, you're the slave master here. You are literally advocating enslaving other people to pay for your child that you can't afford. Now, if they offer it, sure, take it. I understand the logic in that, but don't bitch and whine about it. Again, all of you should be sending thank you cards. Dear American taxpayer, thank you for subsidizing the true cost of child education for all these years. I really appreciate it. Nope, it's an entitlement. Those rat bastard fascists are making me pay for my own child, so I now have to work a job raising other women's children so I can raise my children. Those include many federal government workers who may have been drawn to their jobs because government jobs were long seen as flexible with good benefits like parental leave, says Hegenis. Research suggests that women are more likely to take a lower paying job if there are benefits attached to like telework and flexibility around timing their schedule, she says. Sure. If those jobs then experience mass layoffs as federal workers have under Trump's downsizing, women could be disproportionately affected. Yep. That's what happens. Yes. The world is not perfect. As women leave the workforce, the Trump administration is exploring ways to encourage women to get married and have more children in order to slow the country's decline in the birth rate. What? Now I'm kind of like, what's it? You're a bit, who cares? I know we got all these government programs that need future slaves. Literally, you need future slaves. That's why they're worried about the birth rate. But I don't know if the Trump administration or any administration should be getting involved in this. To encourage women to get married and have more children. Ooh, what's Hegenis going to think about this? In order to slow the country's decline in the birth rate, but Hegenis suspects that forcing federal government workers back to the office makes many women choose between having children and pursuing their careers. Yep. Yes. Yes. You have to choose, ladies. You don't have all that bullshit. You could have it all. No, you can't. There's not, I mean, you can, you got to do it a certain way, but it's have your kids first, then go after your career. Because there's a thing called menopause, but I don't want to be a fascist. Yeah, you can't have it all. I know. All those feminists who lied to you in the 80s, 90s, and the aughts, yeah, they were lying to you. Oh, no. The world isn't perfect. Oh, no. There's hard physical limits of the universe and time. No, it's not the patriarchy. It's called math. It's called physics. It's called 24 hours a day. What they're doing right now with the return to work policies and they're leading by example is the exact opposite of what you'd want to be doing from a policy perspective if you really cared about increasing birth rates. Hegenis said, Hegenis, shut up. We're so sick and tired of you leftist academics. You don't know shit. This is how we got into this problem. Please shut up. Now, I will agree having remote work will help increase birth rates. All right. But let me ask you something. Let's talk about fat acceptance. The fat women, do you agree that overweight women has a bad effect on birth rates? Let me know. Yes or no in the comments. In the meantime, I don't give a shit. I don't want to hear any more. I don't want to hear about research shows, studies suggest, Professor Fuckwit says. Of course, for some women, leaving the workforce can be a blessing. If their partners have stable jobs that provide a good income, they have more time to spend with their families. And some are freelancing, starting their own. Wait, are you admitting that spending time with your children is a good thing? I'm confused. Sarah Wedge moved out of Philadelphia during the pandemic. Her employment ended when her company called employees back to the office, she says, and she decided she didn't want to move her family back. Good for her. Now she's freelancing and spending more time with her 3-year-old daughter. I'm a mom, and that's part of why I've enjoyed freelancing. It's a whole fluid schedule. That's great, she says. There's more. I I agree. I agree, but it's funny now that the 3% decline of women with bachelor's degrees, it looks to be because you're being subsidized, either directly through your job or your childcare, right? There are reasons to be concerned about women leaving the workforce. Without 2 salaries, many families struggle to afford basics like food, clothing, and no. There's too many fat kids that you can't afford food. Nope, we're done with that. I'm done seeing people who drive up in the food line with fancier cars than me. I'm done with that. Tell the American people to cut their budget, which means less money for circulating in the economy. Oh, we're gonna do the expansionary fiscal policy argument. We're gonna do the multiplier effect argument. Look, why don't you just print off more money while you're at it? Okay. There's no difference than printing money to employ someone, male or female, that doesn't do a real job than just printing the money and giving it to people. Why bother that person with the burden of commuting to do a make work job? Their health care and other benefits are more precarious in an economy where only one partner works. Economic growth has slowed in the first half of the year. In the longer term, slowing growth worsens people's standards of living. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Time Magazine. For many women, this is more than an economic problem. It's a depressive. Here's another. I think the world doesn't give. Okay, Time Magazine, who reads you anymore? Just for you journalists, right? We're sick and tired of women complaining, right? We're sick and tired of everyone complaining. I have autism. I'm a woman. I'm this minority. I'm this disadvantaged. Everyone's sick of it. It's been complain the entire time. We're deaf to it. No one cares. It's always complain. It's never, and we're going to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps in a literal sense and cut our budget and make choices. We're going to get by. It's always a complaint fest, and no one cares anymore because you never did. It's been 40 years of being whiny little bitches in the media, and the people themselves never do anything, like work an extra job to pay off the student loan. Like, what is it? 15 years we've been hearing about student loans, right? 15 years. Well, I mean, if you just worked $5,000 a year part-time job, that's very part-time. You would have had your student loans paid off. No, we just get to hear. No one wants to hear it anymore. We're no longer sympathetic. I don't care. Well, it sucks to be her, I guess. When balancing family and work was actually sometimes possible is over. Well, you know what? You women could afford it. You could afford a balanced life if you didn't vote to take a quarter of our money for the welfare state. Ladies, if you just stop voting Democrat, I'm not saying you vote Republican. If you just stop voting for the welfare state, you'd all have the money you could afford to have your student tuition paid for and have a family. But I'm going to say it again. Your first family is the welfare state. All you women are married to the welfare. Not all, of course. Most of you women are married to the welfare state. You have other families. They're randos you've never met by people who probably hate you, who live off the welfare state. That's your first family. That's how you voted before you even met your husband and had kids. If you would like to have the money, stop paying to support the parasitic class of society. Here it is. It's not possible anymore. Gee, I wonder if both you and your husband got a 25% raise, if you'd be able to afford children. But you are affording children. They're just not your own. But at least it makes you feel good. You got the warm tingles. Big picture, women's labor force participation has stalled in the U.S. in recent decades, peaking in the early 2000s, even as it rose in many countries in Europe. But then during the pandemic, rates started to rise again. That's for bachelors only. As women could handle childcare pickup and drop off and other caregiving responsibilities while working at home. And it was a good time, right? It was a good time while it lasted. Among married women, rates rose from 56.9 in 2021 to 59 in January 2024. What is most heartbreaking of all this is that the pandemic felt like this revolution where they finally realized we're human beings and they'll treat us with some degree of respect. True, says a mother of two whose company went back to mandating 3 office work days. but which granted her a temporary exception, meaning she's still able to work remotely full time. In the pandemic, they were saying, we care about you as people and we understand that your well being contributes to your productivity at work. The mother who does not want her name used because she doesn't want to risk her remote status has two young children and moved to be closer to her grandparents during the pandemic. With father available for comment? Now she's just waiting for her company to end her employment by reversing her remote work status, which the company says can be revoked at any time for any reason. She's not willing to pick up her family, move back, but she wishes she didn't have to choose. 100% agree with you. I agree. There's been a shift in the zeitgeist now. It's we don't care about you and you're replaceable, she says. It's like we didn't learn anything. Madam, I'm going to suggest to you that corporations, employers never cared about you. That's why they require master's degrees. That's why they offer to pay for your egg freezing. They need you as a slave. And yeah, they understand because it was by law you had to work remote. But they don't get all that corporate social responsibility, right? If corporations really cared about the environment, they'd be all for remote working because there's no commute, there's no traffic, there's no carbon emissions with cars anyway. They, never mind. You got it all figured out, ladies. It is sad. It could have been the next revolution in America. For my audience, who is fiscally responsible, and we don't have kids we can't afford, and we don't put ourselves in these positions. If you don't want to work remote, you don't. I mean, unless you're electrician, then you have to work there. I mean, if you don't want to come into an office, you don't have to, unless it's a physically demanding job. But for those of you, yeah, if you want to work remote, you're going to insist on it, you can. Just don't have kids you can't afford. Moi free lifestyle for $1. Thank you very much. Couch Marine, $5. This reminds me of when their productivity went down because they went to remote work because they lost their work husbands. Huh? So wait, you're saying women were motivated at an office because there was like that bolstering effect because there was a work husband and they wanted to impress the guy? Is that what happened? Couch Marine, $5 again. Sounds to me like the girl bosses had all the work credit in the books and all the work husbands got laid off for not being productive enough. I don't know if men and women, I think women are getting disproportionately laid off in this one because people are finding out like, okay, yeah, DEI gone. Activist, jobs that are not only not productive, but are actively activist, disproportionately women. H&R marketing, nope, gone. Well, heck, they're saying AI, women are twice or thrice as likely to be obsoleted by AI than men. Prince Revolver, $10. Cappy, I deliver to a daycare every Tuesday. From newborns to 4-year-olds, they can't wait to drop off their kids to work jobs involving taking care of other people who aren't their family. Really? Is that true? I mean, I'm not calling you a liar by any stretch, but how do you know? Like some lady just drops off their kids to go to some other place to raise other women's children? Is that common? Ladies, look, stop voting Democrat. Stop voting for the welfare state. Give individual families the money. Don't major in dumb shit. Don't spend your money on dumb shit. Get your personal family budget together and you could be a stay-at-home mom. You could raise your own kid. But what if my husband leaves me? There are no solutions, only trade-offs. Then maybe you got to sue him for child support and alimony. So then that would say, why don't you choose a good guy? I don't care. This is a them problem. Ladies, you get to deal with commuting and running around and time management with the kids. I've seen, I'm older now. I've seen people my age, women my age, be family, and they're single moms and running around and it's chaotic. I'm like, wow, that life just sucks. You can just see them. They're frazzled. They're exhausted. I'm like, that sucks. That sucks, man. Boy, if only you weren't constantly voting to have one in every 4 of your dollars, give them to some rando so you could raise their crotch fruit. At least you felt good, though, sweethearts. At least you're using your degree in communications, getting paid $15 an hour to work downtown corporate America. Prince Revolver, $2. He means the work husband did all the work. Okay, let's review that. This reminds me when their productivity went down when they went to remote work because they lost their work husbands. Oh, I get it. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the guys were doing their homework essentially is what you're saying. That when people went to remote work, women's okay, I'm going to need a research study to show that. And even then, research shows, studies suggest. So we'll put an asterisk Q for question. You're saying because guys wanted to get laid, or maybe they're just being nice, they would help women out at work, which heavily subsidized their productivity. And then when that guy was gone, or those guys were gone, women's productivity on their own tanked. That's what you're saying. Okay, I got it. I got it. Thank you. Thank you, Prince Revolver. Maybe that happened. I don't know. I mean, I could see it, but I'd like to have it verified. All right, that's it. Questions, answers, assholeconsulting.com. Link below. I have A World Without Men, an analysis of an all-female economy. While you girls are raising other women's children so you can go work your job raising other women's children and no fucking GDP is made, take a look at what men do. A World Without Men, an analysis of an all-female economy. It's a fascinating economic study. I also have link below my Amazon affiliate link if you want to do all your Amazon shopping there. That'd be great. And that's about it. I'll see you guys later. Toodles.